Real talk, real wisdom. All heart, all in. This is the Roxanne Show. We hear a lot about self-love. I talk about self-love all the time. It's very important. I talk about it in a multitude of ways. I believe that it's a very lofty idea for an individual to just know how to love themselves fully without building intimacy with themselves.
Right.
So I speak about self-intimacy.
Yes.
And it's that safe container, right? That you can build within yourself, that safe home where you can really be raw with yourself and real and not judge yourself and look at the ugly parts. And then we can start to build that connection where then we get to really know who we are, what we value, what we want or don't want, right? And then we can move into this love piece, right? But I'd love to hear your
Yeah, I mean,
that.
I love that you brought that up because I think that is the path, really, is to be intimate with self. What we need to do is get really conscious of our values. And so, and there's a whole language to that and learning to kind of peel away. And so often we are not conscious. Most of us walk through life and we haven't really evaluated or examined what our highest values are. And therefore, we're not living in alignment. And so anytime life is showing that anything is out of balance in your life at all, right? I'm stressed, I'm anxious, I am discontent in some way, my relationships aren't working. There is the misalignment with your value system. And so part of the work, right, is really cutting through and what have I over-identified with that is not me at all? And what am I not integrated with that is actually of very high value to me? And it's really important because there's even an order to those. And there's it can be ever evolving if we're doing life right. I think that we're always growing and evolving, so that can move. But at any juncture, really it's knowing, which is again a felt sense, right? Because this is subcortical, all of it, really. How do we feel? What is, if I think that these two things are competing in my life and they're both really important, the truth is no two things can actually compete. And so our ideal values and our impeccable self will always reveal. And if it feels like things are competing, really feeling into in a subcortical way, what is truly my highest value. And then you do that with everything in your life and everything that you imagine you desire to have in your life. And then you sort and sift that until you have a real conscious, I think of it as just literally organizing like our internal world. And when we've done that really consciously and we get to know ourselves, there's no greater intimacy and there's no greater gift to give. And so it's a really kind of tangible and practical way to sort and sift everything in life until we understand ourselves deeply. And then, we can move through sharing that with the world, knowing it clearly, but also sharing it with others so that frankly, our exchanges are as pure as they can be. Because if I show up and really share exactly who I am and I'm embodied in my values and you do the same, well, then nothing's personal. You also recognize there's no victim consciousness at all. Nothing is personal whatsoever. You're being true to your values. I'm being true to mine. And if we align, beautiful. If we don't, it's not personal. It's just a difference. And so there's no judgment. There's no victimization around that, around relationships we might be forcing or relationships that don't work any longer, or if we just don't vibe with somebody. It's just how we organize. And there's a coherence to that is so divinely intelligent that wants to step forward if we are willing to listen, sit with ourselves, figure out, reflect what it is that really, again, our soul's always been telling us. And are we willing to kind of live boldly in that way, in this self-honoring way that we just claim and own fully who we are and what we know about ourselves at that juncture, so that we can share it with other people and with the world.
I feel like everything you shared is also this process of expanding your consciousness. They really go together, right?
Completely. Yeah. You cannot, you know how to do one, you know how to do it all. And it just keeps happening. I always say it's not how you do, it's the process, right? It's not a problem's not a problem. It's how you organize yourself around the problem. And so really, we really want to get process level. We don't want to get into the minutia. The details, frankly, don't matter. I mean, they matter, and it's not what it's about. It's really kind of understanding, well, if I'm stuck in that, well, how would I go about it? And if you learn a healthy, functional process, then you can't not live in that process. You can't fail in any moment or any challenge that you're ever in, because if you apply the same process, it works every time. And that's the golden ticket to anything.
So
honestly.
good.
Yeah.
Do you find that that's a big unlock for you with your clients? Yeah. Is this, the values specifically, do you find that many they don't have that dialed in yet? And so
Yeah, for sure. I mean, nobody would show up and need to do the work if they had it dialed in. And so most of us don't do that. There's incongruences, there are inconsistencies, there's things that we're making a priority that aren't truly important. There's ways that we waste our time, or people that we give effort to things that we don't really, it's the circumstances matter less. But again, what's the felt sense that we have inside of anything? And do we learn to listen to that? And that informs and tells us really everything that we need to know about our values. And so oftentimes what it is there's just a disorganization. And usually when someone shows up and wants to do work, it's because there's some probably core value of theirs that they're not living in alignment with. And so what I love about that is that it's just low hanging fruit. Like once you tune into it, it's just like an easy fix. You just didn't know what you didn't know, and you weren't prioritizing it or giving space in your life in a significant enough way so that you would feel fulfilled in that way. And so that is the juicy fruit. I mean, that is the juicy fruit. If you learn how to just organize that, and then sometimes we're still stuck. So we do that, and then we'll have relief right away, because there's always going to be something that we're just doing out of alignment. It could be as simple as, I like to see myself, I identify as a yogi, but I'm not practicing yoga that often, right? So examples like that, but you can imagine, or, some big dream I have that isn't even taking up space in my life, or a value that I'm against, but I'm actually spending a lot of time doing it, or something like that, right? I mean, there's lots of details examples that you can go into there. And then there's this other category. So then those we can just organize and sift better now that we're conscious of them, now that we have self-awareness and we can self-reflect. It's like, oh, okay, well, now that I know more, I can do something different about that. And then there's the stuff that we need to heal that might feel like, okay, I know it, but there's a disconnect. And so how do I find my way through that? Well, we might have to go in and do trauma healing, or nervous system work, or past life work, or who knows what it is, right? Like, we have to figure out, why are we still blocked? Because knowing isn't enough. We have to heal something. And so that's the stuff that then helps. Those are the two kind of categories of things, in my perception of things, that we need to organize so that we can be in alignment with our values. And that's what's happening when we're in any suffering whatsoever in our lives. Somehow we're not doing that.
Do you find that if there's some healing that needs to take place, that is one of the reasons, if not the main reason, why one can't connect with their core values? Is that kind of, or...
For sure. Yeah, for sure. And so it's really kind of teaching people how to sort and organize that. And then we eliminate all the low hanging fruit, meaning you just needed to be aware of it. And so now you can actually just take the action and live life in alignment with that.
Yeah.
And then if you're noticing you're still stuck, or you're aware of it, and it's not moving for you, or there's still some discontent, or you're not in the degree of pleasure you want in your life, then we know that it's something that probably needs deeper kind of quantum evaluation. We need to heal that and understand what do we need to understand here. And that's where we go in, and we just, I call it tracking the energy. just we greet that, whatever the energy is, and then we understand, what does it need to do, what does it need you to know, what does it need to shift or sort in order to move through that and not block, because there's protective parts that we all have protective parts that show up. So if there's a protective part that's showing up and sabotaging you from having the life you want, then we have to understand, okay, well, how does this part want to be healed? What's happening here? Yeah.
I love that you bring up values too, because I think it's a core piece to your authentic self to really know who you are, right? You got to know what you value. And I find that there are values, some people might think, oh, as an example, health is my, as a core value, but they're not living that healthy life.
Correct. Yeah.
And so, and I've said often, like, just look at that. Don't judge it. Not easy to do.
Not easy to do.
Try not to judge it and ask yourself, is this truly my value? Or was it a value that I was supposed to value?
Correct. Yeah.
Can you talk about that a little? Because I think that's so important.
Yeah.
Adopted or, values that were pressed into. Yes.
Yeah. So we all do it, right? Our subconscious is formed developmentally from like 0 to 7, but it's in childhood, right? So we are absorbing the consciousness of our parents. If our parents aren't conscious, or our caregivers aren't conscious, or whoever it is that we've been exposed to a lot during those years, then we just absorb that, and it all gets downloaded into our subconscious, which again is subcortical. We don't even know what we don't know. And so that stacks up, and that makes up 95% of how we operate, how we exist, what we come to believe, how we see the world, our perception of everything. And so we don't even know, we are so over-identified with values that we've inherited from other people and experiences and traumas and all of the things. And then the way that we compensate and, take on as kind of that become maladaptive strategies. So, there's so many ways that is programmed and compounded into our system that we are so separate from who we truly were and we came in and our true essence. We don't even know better. And then you add layers of anxiety and differentiation, and we're afraid to separate because we want to belong. Going back to that concept, we want to belong. And we need to belong to our family systems to survive. So as children, that is essential for our survival. And so emotionally, mental, how do we ascribe to the belief systems of our usually unconscious or semi-conscious parents, which is why it's so important to get conscious before you have children, right? And most people don't do that.
Right.
And so, so we absorb those, and then we are so afraid of separation and not belonging that we continue to over-identify with values that aren't even ours. It's like, where did this come from? So that's a whole, that's like
situation.
A lot of it. It's a whole situation, right? Because so much of it is really then peeling back and questioning if we can give ourselves permission and the freedom to do so. What do I really believe? And is it okay for me to believe something different than the people that gave me life, that I love, that, whatever your relationship is with your family system? And so there can be a whole lot of complicated emotions in that, in separating and really saying, hey, I might be different here.
Yeah.
And what would be the value in that? And really, I think everything's the value. I think this is what happens in life is we come in authentic. Quickly, the programs start coming in, we move into belonging. And then if we're really living our soul's path, we're actually moving away from belonging to just anything, right? And we're moving back to authenticity. And so it's this whole pendulum swing that if we're brave, we will shift away from belonging just for the sake of connection and just for the sake of belonging. But it's really asking, what do I want to belong to? Right. And then living in alignment, which is a bold and courageous move to make, especially if there is a lot of disparity between what we've inherited
Mm-hmm.
and what we've come to know and how we've even come to know ourselves, right? There's an
Yeah.
absolute death of our identity, a death of an ego, a death of everything that needs to happen in order to get to know that version of yourself.